going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team and Kevin Harvick that are going to win it. I think that's what Andy said. He's trying not to gloat. Dominating, absolutely, for Kevin Harvick. Checkered flag in Atlanta, and the win tonight in the Great British 300. Good job, boys. Awesome job.
Well, there you have it. Mr. Harvick wins. Interesting indeed, to say the least there. A nice win for him.
Great win for Kevin Harvick. If you look at, he came in first, won the race. He led for about 159 laps last night, which is almost half of the whole race. And then you look at, for today, he's qualified first, which is great. It goes to show that he's got the speed for the race coming up today, which is great. That's what a lot of these nationwide guys do. Whenever they are racing at a certain track and they get an opportunity and they can race a little bit more on the track to learn a little bit more about the lines or to learn where the bumps are in the track, they usually end up winning the Sprint Cup race the very next day. If you look at Joey Logano, he just came off a big win there last weekend. He finished second. So these are two guys who are, they're going to probably be in the top. If they don't wreck, they're probably going to be in the top 5 at the end of the day.
So let's take the top 6. They're all chasing that big crown.
Oh, yeah. So you've got... you look at Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson. Now you've got Joey Logano who's just entered the act. All of these guys are going to be, racing for that championship. It's going to be great to see because the thing they do with NASCAR, it's such a great job, is always making a tight finish towards the end. It's the same thing with IndyCar, where IndyCar, it comes down to the very last race and who's going to win the championship. If you look at last night in IndyCar's race, you had 6 drivers who could mathematically win the championship. Obviously, Will Power came out on top, but still, at the same time, NASCAR does similar things where you've got 4 guys who can win the championship. If you look at Jeff Gordon, though, I really think he's going to take it just because of the experience. He's already won multiple championships before, so he's kind of like he's my racehorse right now.
So, Tim, when you look at it, the winning stable, I like to call it a racing stable there because that's what it is, basically is... how much are the big bucks for that? I mean, because now it relates to sponsors, of course. Absolutely.
So, you're looking at millions and millions of dollars, and then at the end of the day, you're also looking at the sponsors getting so much for their return on their investment. So if the car does well, or if the racing stable does well, that basically pays for itself in the long run. And they have number crunchers who break all of this down, and they look at the markets that they're in, and they have special guys who will come in and they'll say, okay, we're making X amount of dollars when you do this in this market. So everything's always broken down, and sponsors have a way of getting the return on their investment.
Now, I want to step back. We just before the break, Mercedes-Benz and F1, are they a little dueling there, boxing? Do we take it to MGM's boxing ring?
Well, if you look back into the 90s when you had Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, both of them were on McLaren. Both of them fought for the championship. At the end of the day, Senna ended up Senna ended up taking out Prost when winning the championship. Now you've got Rosberg and Hamilton battling it out. It's such a great storyline. You go back to Spa last weekend. Rosberg touches the back of Hamilton, and that's the end of Hamilton's race. He's done. He's got nothing left. He punctured tire. He falls back to 16th, has to go in, get a tire change. From there, he retires from the end of the race, not because of mechanical failure, but because of protecting the engine, because you only get so many engines in Formula One for a full season. So when you go over that, you get penalized. So for him, he's basically just bringing it in saying, okay, we're not going to get any points. There's no point in me being out there risking the rest of the car, so I'm going to bring it in and shut it down. Rosberg goes on to finish second. Then after the race, they have a team debrief. Hamilton comes out and says that Rosberg hit him on purpose. So things get a little...
That's a heavy statement.
Spicy, which is great for Formula One at this time because, you go back and you saw the run of Sebastian Vettel. He rattled off 4 championships in a row. It was exciting at some points. If you look at 2011 when you had Alonso and Vettel simply just going after each other, and then same thing with 2012, Alonso and Vettel again going after each other, which was great. Came down to the last race in Brazil. So this is what's happening, and it's making great entertainment for everybody who's watching. And it's making a great entertainment for the sport, and that's what I really think it needs. And it does it needs its manufacturers, but at this point, I really think it needs its drivers and its personalities.
Because the manufacturers, I mean, all the racing, when you think about it, my first touch of a steering wheel with all the gizmos on was in the UK quite a few years back. But I hadn't seen it here in North America. But everything from F1 racing, obviously, is a benefit to the average Joe Blow like me going up and down the 401.
Absolutely. I do a lot of work for Ferrari, and you see that, Ferrari is owned by Fiat. Now, what Fiat does, it owns Ferrari, it owns Maserati, it owns Chrysler, it owns Alfa Romeo. What they do is absolutely brilliant. They take all of the technology that they have in Ferrari, Formula One team, they trickle it down into Ferrari itself, the road-going car. Then they take that technology, they break it down a little more, and they spread it out to Chrysler, to Alfa Romeo, and to Maserati. And you see a lot of that technology come down through the chain. It's such a smart thing. You're going to see it with Mercedes now over the next few years. A lot of the technology that they use on their Formula One car, they now start to use on their road cars. So it just makes sense for the manufacturer to be involved.
Tim, which comes first? The development of that high tech that you see on the steering wheel, is that comes first for like the F1 cars, or are they experimenting with the cars that we buy every day?
You would see that they actually experiment first on their F1 cars, and then they see that the technology, if it works or not, and then they see, okay, this technology works here, let's see if we can break it down a little bit smaller and put it in one of our road-going cars, and then we'll see how that develops. So they really do a good job of trying to break everything down and then spread it out through everything else.
You know what? It's always a pleasure, Tim. We're going to catch up with you next week. We'll see how NASCAR develops today. There's certainly a few prayers with Stewart. Let's hope that he can perform at the level he's used to performing. There you've got it. Tim Hauraney, always there. Little slow at times for parking, but when you get him on the track, watch out. You are listening to TSN 1050, and it's the International Sports Report.